Yo, what is up YouTube? Kome here back with another Genshin Impact video. Today we're going to talk about the new Abyss rotation, 2.3 bro, new enemies in the Abyss, a new blessing of the Abyssal Moon as well, so lots of things to talk about. We'll see if it's harder or easier, but I think it mostly depends on what characters you have on your account. Of course, that new Abyss is more towards Geo characters with the upcoming Ito and Goro. So you get lots of buffs if you have like geo characters and you can create like crystallized reactions. But yeah, we'll talk about it in a bit. But yeah, first I want to say that I stream 4 to 5 days a week on Twitch. You can catch me live at twitch.tv/komemos. I do a lot of Abyss on stream. I do my daily farmings on Genshin. I play other games as well. I try to help as many people as I can as well. So if you need help on Genshin, if you have any questions, feel free to catch me on Twitch and also join my Discord. We have a really nice community. So yeah, let's get into the Abyss content. So let's begin with the blessing of the Abyssal Moon. For this rotation, basically, it's really focused towards geo characters. So since Ito and Goro are coming soon, they really made it easier for them to be stronger and get extra damage if you have them in your team. But if you already use like Albedo, Zhongli, or even Noel, Ningguang, or the Geo Traveler, this blessing can be really strong. Basically, each time you pick up a crystal from a crystallized reaction, you will increase your damage by 8% for 10 seconds, and you can stack this 3 times. So you can get up to 24% increased damage. And when you get 3 stacks, you will unleash a shockwave that deals true damage to your opponents. So this is a really good blessing if you're a geo character lover, but I wouldn't rely too much on that blessing. It's probably going to be something similar on the next rotation, but yeah, I wouldn't focus too much with the blessing. If you have geo character, it can be really helpful, but otherwise most people will probably not be able to use this blessing, so try to be strong enough without the blessing. So I feel like flow 9 to 11 is pretty easy recently. That new flow 11 especially is much more easier than the previous flow 11 where we had the Hydro Hypostasis and Pyro Hypostasis. That's why I made a specific video dedicated for the Hydro Hypostasis, because it was a pretty hard boss and with weird patterns. So I felt like I needed to make a video about it. But in this new flow 11, the enemies are pretty squishy. You have a defend the core in the first chamber, but it's not that hard even without a Nemo character. Not that many enemies attack the monolith, so it's not that hard. So I'm really going to concentrate on floor 12 in this video. So let's begin with floor 12, chamber 1. This chamber already introduces the new enemies that are the wolves. You'll have the small wolves in the first wave of the first half, and then 2 big wolves on the second wave of the first half. The small wolves are pretty easy to kill. They're pretty squishy, but these wolves in the big ones in this new Abyss are really tanky. They have a lot of HP, like more than 1 million, I think. So they're really tanky, so you have to use the right strategy to kill them. Same for the second half. It's going to start with the small Geo ones, and then 1 big Geo wolf with 2 small Geo wolves again. So yeah, my recommendation for the first team is going to be a Raiden national team. So if you have Raiden, that's awesome, because you can basically overload the wolves all the time, so they can't really move. Because the big ones are really hard to pull, even with like a Nemo character like Venti or Kazuha. It works, but not that well. So if you have a Raiden national team, it's pretty good. If you can overload a lot, that's awesome. Also, those wolves have a specific ability where when you hit them with the corresponding element, for example, the Electro wolves, you hit them with Electro, they're going to take increased damage from Electro. So if you're using Raiden national team, it's like the perfect team for that first half. And the second half, if you have Geo characters like Zhongli, Albedo, that's awesome as well. Otherwise, I would just recommend a freeze team. You can use 4 stars like Rosaria with Barbara, Chongyun, characters like this. If you have a Yaka or a Ganyu, that's perfect with Mona or Kokumi. But usually what I recommend for this Abyss is going to be first team Raiden National, second team Freeze team. I will suggest more teams in the later in the video, so you guys can play around with my recommendations. In terms of pure gameplay in this chamber, there are not that many tips. The first three wolves on the first half are pretty quick to kill. Same for the second half. I would say for that first half though, when the two big wolves spawn, trying to overload them or at least push them to the wall is a really good strategy because they won't move that much. And also try to iframe the attacks, even though you can't really iframe the corrosion, which is one of the big problems in my opinion, because those wolves, like when they attack you while you're in your burst animation, you still get the corrosion stack, so you have to be careful with that. But yeah, if you can manage to push them into the wall and then hit them together, it's really nice. Otherwise, if you see that you're struggling to do that, just focus them one by one. If you manage to deal damage to both of them, it's great. Otherwise, just go one by one. It's really it should be good enough. 12-2 looks really scary when you just look at the enemies. In the first half, you'll have 2 Geo Bishops, and in the second half, you'll have 3 Magu Kenki. The Magu Kenki are a little bit scary at first glance, but I'm gonna explain to you how to do it, and it's actually one of the easiest fight in this floor 12, so it's actually funny to see that the Magu Kenki is actually easier when there are 3 of them, because they really reduce their HP and it's really easy to damage them together even if you don't have like big AoEs. So yeah, but first the Geo Bishops, you're gonna have to fight 2 of them in that first half. It's basically the same fight as like the Pale Flame domain. You can just, they're not really that tanky. One of them is going to infuse in Pyro, the other one in Cryo. So if you have like the weakening element towards Pyro or Cryo, it's nice. But you should also be able to kill them pretty fast even before they infuse. If you're using Raiden National, it should be more than enough. This first half usually takes about 30 to 45 seconds, maybe 1 minute if you're struggling a little bit, but 1 minute should be the maximum time you take for that first half, so you have at least 2 minutes for the second half. And then for the second half, the Magu Kenkis are going to spawn like almost together, and you can just the first one, the Frost, the Galloping Frost Magu Kenki is going to start dashing with his first attack. So he's gonna be a bit further away from the other ones, but you can already start like attacking the normal Magu Kenki and the Alone Gale one. They're gonna take damage together, and the Frost one is gonna join you back after a while. So you can just literally hit them all together. If you have the Freeze team, it's fine because you usually have a lot of AoE with these teams. If you don't use the Freeze team is not the best for that fight, but it should still work. Otherwise, you can use a lot of other reactions like Melt with Bennett, Shangling, Rosaria. If you have Sucrose or Kazuha as well, that's great. If you have Eula, she works really well to, like, her burst has a really high AoE, a really big AoE, so she can damage all the Magu Kenkis at the same time. Make sure you bring a shield. Yona or Zhongli are good in this one. There's no corrosion, so you don't even need a healer technically. But they still deal a lot of damage, so you have to be careful, especially from the Frost Magu Kenki. He's gonna put a big AoE on the ground that is gonna deal constant cryo damage. So if you have Diona, her shield should work pretty well against it. Otherwise, they're really squishy, so I usually, even on free-to-play accounts, when I play on stream, I usually have like 30 seconds left at least for this fight, so you can take your time, recharge your burst, and get ready for Chamber 3. Now let's talk about 12-3, the actual hardest chamber of this new Abyss. For the first half, we'll fight 1 Rune Defender and 1 Rune Cruiser at the start of the first half. These 2 enemies are pretty squishy, so if you're playing, especially if you're playing Raiden National, it should be pretty quick. Just focus the Rune Cruiser first. The Rune Defender is going to jump on you, and also if the Rune Defender starts putting his shield, I would say just restart the fight, because you're going to waste a lot of time like running around him trying to hit him during his shield. So just restart, don't waste time. And then once you kill those 2 enemies, There's going to be two Thunder Craven Rift Hound that is going to spawn. And here it's basically the same strategy as the first chamber, where you should try to overload them into the wall, or at least push them into the wall so they don't move as much. And if you can hit both of them, that's great. If you can only, you can't, just focus one by one. And if you can clear this first half in 1 minute 30, 1 minute 40 at most, you should be able to clear second half on time. For the second half, there's going to be one Rockfawn Rift Hound to begin with two small wolves. Here, I would say like the freeze team is so good for the second half because you can just perma-freeze the enemy. The big wolf is they're really tanky, so if they don't move, it's much better to hit them. So if you have Yaka Ganyu with even Barbara works super well here because she can use her skill. Then you just stay near the wolf and you can perma-freeze him with a Yaka or even Ganyu. Or if you don't have those 5 stars, you can Zarya and Chong. They are really good cryo burst support. And once you kill those 3 enemies, make sure you focus the big wolf. The small ones are usually going to take damage on the side as well, so just focus the big one and kill the small ones over time. And then when those 3 enemies are dead, the 2 rune guards are going to spawn. They're pretty squishy, to be honest. Like, they're really weak. So it is really the easiest part of that abyss, in my opinion. So if you have 30 seconds at least for those 2 rune guard, it should be easy. If you have your burst, that's perfect as well. If you have your burst ready when they spawn. If not, it should still be possible. Especially with the freeze team, they're not going to move at all. And yeah, they're really squishy. If you have your Uyaka burst ready, they should almost die instantly. So what are my team recommendations for this abyss? As I said earlier, my best teams for this abyss, the 2 best teams I recommend are first team Raiden National, so Raiden with Bennett, Shengling, and Xingqiu, and second team freeze team with either Ganyu, Yaka, or both, and then a Hydro support like Mona, Kokomi, or Barbara. I would say Barbara and Kokomi works really well because they are the ones applying Hydro, but they're also the ones healing, and they heal really well. Where if you play with Mona, then your second cryo in the team needs to be someone like the Yona. Where if you play Barbara and Kokomi or Kokomi, you can bring double cryo DPS like Ganyu and Ayaka, which works really well in that phase team. And then the last character can be Venti or Kazuha. So basically, a Morgana team can work really well on that second team. But if you're lacking DPS with the Morgana team, you can try double DPS with Yaka and Ganyu. But overall, freeze team second team makes it really easy to hit the wolves. Other team recommendations, as you can see in the video, freeze team first half is also really good. Basically, the freeze team can work in both halves depending on the other characters that you have. And the second team, I have a team that I really like and that I recommend in many other videos from different type of content. But the Bennett, Shengling, Rosaria melt comp is extremely strong if you have Kazuha with it or Sucrose. As you can see in the video, I did this Abyss 36 stars with my second team being only made of 4 stars, and this team is one of my favorite team. It's extremely strong. You apply so much reaction and you melt almost every single hit, whether it's your Shangling burst or your Rosaria burst. So it is really good for the Magukenki fight. It worked really well, and for the last chamber, I did it in like less than a minute or barely a minute. So it is really strong. Finally, my last 2 teams recommendations are I would say more free-to-play friendly, at least for the first team. I mean, in the previous teams, like the full 4-star team was really free-to-play friendly, and I think almost anyone should be able to do this team. But here I'm gonna do a team with catching, which is a 5-star that a lot of people have, and I usually say she's not great for this for the Abyss. But in this one, since she's Electro and she deals a lot of damage against the Electro Wolves, so if you have another Electro support like Sarah or if you have Official, it works really well with Bennett and Kazuha or Sucrose or Venti. It is a team that works really well. My catching is quite strong, but she doesn't have like the best artifacts in the game, so I would say this team can work pretty well. And the second half is a Superconduct team with Eula, another Electro support. It can be Fischl or Raiden if you have Raiden. A Cryo support to have the Cryo Resonance and some healing. And then it can be Zhongli for the shield, or it can be Deyona, or it can be a second DPS. You feel like you're lacking DPS. You don't necessarily need the shield. So that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and found the tips helpful. If you need any more help for the Abyss, feel free to join my Discord and to catch me live on Twitch. If you also enjoyed the video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a great day. Bye bye.